Today's Long Island is home to residents, businesses, and nature, each with their own personal needs. Our task starting now is to accommodate for all these aspects in tomorrow's world. This ambition starts with providing renewable energy for the future of Long Island. Renewable energy represents a clean alternative to fossil fuels. Renewable sources do not expire or become exhausted. They can provide long-term solutions to energy demands. Renewable energy is provided by the natural forces found on Earth: wind, solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, and bioenergy. By tapping into these sources, it is possible to reduce the dependence on fossil fuels such as coal, oil, and natural gases. Renewable energy doesn't put stress on resources and provides direct conversion of energy into usable power without producing the harmful byproducts found in the burning of fossil fuels.
By providing alternatives to traditional energy sources, we can reduce the destruction and degradation of our atmosphere, oceans, and biodiversity. The combustion of fossil fuels produces greenhouse gases that contribute to climate change. Over the last few decades, we have observed a reduced area of ice frozen year-round in the Arctic, contributing to the decreased habitat of polar bears, indigenous peoples, and many other native residents who call the Arctic ice home. Fracking, the process to extract natural gas by injecting chemicals, sediment, and water into the ground, has been linked to groundwater pollution that can cause serious damage to the brain. Increased CO2 in the atmosphere causes an elevated pH in ocean water. The oceans are delicate balances that magnify even small changes to their environment, such as pH change, which can stunt coral reefs or destroy them entirely. The near universal threat to ecosystems around the world doesn't just affect one isolated species. All life is interconnected. We share one planet, one future, and have a responsibility to protect this world and safeguard it for the future. This begins with renewable energy.
On Long Island, we represent a promising future to clean energy in our efforts to provide wind and solar energy to our towns and cities. New York is setting an example by supporting efforts to reduce carbon emissions, increase efficiency, and support the growth of renewable energy generation. The New York Sun Incentive Program sought out to make solar panels affordable and economically viable for the average consumer. By offering loans and tax exemptions to residents and businesses, solar panels can be accessible to more Long Islanders. The Community Distributed Generation Project allows for more people to benefit from the tax credits earned from renewable energy through large projects instead of individual setups.
About 1/4 of New York's energy consumed is from renewable sources, while the vast proportion is still powered by fossil fuels. Hydroelectric power produces almost half of the energy produced by non-carbon-based fuels in New York, and natural gas produces half of the total power generated in New York. On Long Island, we are seeing new large-scale renewable energy projects such as offshore wind farms and large solar arrays. There is a strong push towards these methods of power generation. However, we are far from attaining independence from fossil fuels. According to New York State, our energy plan is to achieve a clean, resilient, and affordable energy system for all New Yorkers. They hope to make this a reality by increasing our solar and wind power generation systems and reduce fossil fuels and emissions.
Long Island has seen a steady increase in energy demand since 1960, and the demands have been met using natural gases and nuclear power. However, this method cannot be sustained indefinitely and does not represent a perfect solution. For example, the Shoreham nuclear power plant did not fit into society as easily as hoped. Behind me stands the Shoreham nuclear power plant. This power plant was built in 1972 in order to meet the growing demand for power on Long Island. The Long Island Power Company invested $6 billion into this project.
The reactor was met with the largest public opposition in Long Island's history. The opposition was stirred by events such as the 3 Mile incident and the Chernobyl disaster. The concerns were over the lack of a safe public evacuation route for residents. The plant was decommissioned in 1989, and the price of construction was placed on the Long Island taxpayer. The power plant remains in Shoreham as a reminder of the need for careful planning and consideration for the future. Now, a petroleum plant has been constructed on the property to replace the energy that the nuclear plant would have provided. Today, there are new plans for large-scale wind farms that would be positioned off of the South Shore. These farms would produce clean and reliable energy for all of Long Island. Solar farms are also being constructed across the island. For example, the Shoreham Solar Farm is now operational on land that was originally a sod farm. The project was met with some resistance from locals due to the concerns about the effect on real estate prices and its unsightly appearance. To see the local viewpoints on Long Island, we took the time to interview a local resident of Shoreham on his opinions for the energy projects on Long Island.
Why did you decide to install solar panels on your roof?
Basically, because the neighbors across the street were the first ones in our neighborhood that had them installed, and a number of neighbors did, and we were offered an offer that we couldn't refuse. A young man came down the street and suggested that we might get free solar panels, and we did.
Have you supported solar panels in the past?
Actually, there was no past. Just generally evolving. Yes, I support them. I think they're a good idea.
Did any New York State benefits affect your decision to install solar panels?
Not necessarily New York State benefits, but the electric company offered reduced rates for distribution of electricity. As we were a producer of electricity with solar panels, we were to benefit from being a producer and thereby not carrying distribution charges. We were a provider rather than a user, consumer.
As a solar panel owner, how has the equipment affected your life?
Actually, we are not owners. The owners of the solar panels are in Utah. They are essentially leasing our roof. And in exchange for that, we get reduced power rates, but nothing has physically changed other than the fact that we get a lower electric bill.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Well, it was nice being here and perhaps putting a bug in my bonnet to give some thought to the particular problems that are upcoming. Thank you.
To reduce power consumption on Long Island, we can look at the two largest consumers. Residential and commercial power usage represents about 60% of total New York power demands. By providing new standards for insulation and power draw by appliances, we can reduce consumption by a significant amount due to most power being used for space heating. Various other small upgrades in efficient lighting and automobiles can reduce our contribution to pollution. Tax reductions for meeting efficiency standards and installing solar panels and other green energy systems can help to promote their use across the island. Personally, we believe in order for progress towards renewable energy, that more drastic steps should be taken to further this cause.
By providing renewable energy with government and state sponsorship, along with land from old power plants to develop, more projects can be started to produce clean energy. Money can be taken from federal funding of oil and gas industries and be redistributed to a growing renewable energy industry, reducing long-term reliance on purchasing fossil fuels from other countries and providing our own self-sufficient systems. For Long Island's best interest, power solutions should be built on the island to reduce dependency on other states and to manage our own affairs. Although the benefits may not be apparent initially, the long-term backing of renewable energy would be cheaper than fossil fuels and more reliable in uncertain economic situations.
Although, as individuals, the world may seem large for us to change, too far for us to save. Every action we make has consequences and the potential to make a difference. By starting now, not later, as part of our responsibility to protect our world and future, the absolute gravity of our situation becomes even more clear that the time that decides the future is closer than we believed. With these small steps, the future that we strive for can become a reality.